Hey everyone, Evgeny is back with you today again, and I want to welcome you in the next video in the series of how to use AI agents in Windsurf editor. Well, the idea is a bit more different. We are not looking at how to use AI agents. To be frankly, we are trying to test the approach. If it's possible to be a non-developer at all and ask your AI agent or editor, as Windsurf, for example, to build the full-fledged application for you from the scratch. So in this series, we are progressing from step to step. In today's session, we are trying to create a new user endpoint. So we will ask to follow the RESTful API principles. We will be working with DTOs. We will be storing our users in MongoDBs, and if it sounds very simple for you, please remember the main rule. We are not allowed to edit any single line of code. All these tasks we are trying to send to AI agent and only watching if AI agent can do this for us. And how good is that? So this is the idea. And okay, it's time to start. And again, let's check if a non-coding person, the one who doesn't know anything about programming, can control the machine and create something. So let's give it a try.
Okay, just as a refresher, last time we added basic user authentication, and now we are storing all our users in Mongo database. So now we are working on a new endpoint for creating users, because at the moment we don't have a way how to create a new user, how to register users. So let's create a new endpoint then. And again, I'm going to give a task here. I'm not going to modify any single line of the code, and well, we will be reviewing our changes, and if I don't like something, I will try to push the agent into the right direction by giving another set of instructions. So in short, what I'm providing a context that we are going to have a new endpoint slash register, and for that we need to create a new user controller. And there I would like to see a new method that would be responsible for creating users, but the task is already quite complex for AI agents, so I'm asking to leave the methods body empty so we can modify it in the future. So just for me it's enough if I would see the proper signature of this method. And we are going to change a bit our strategy today. So I'm not going to accept all the changes until I'm ready to give a try the application. So we will be keeping all the changes in this unacceptable state and working on them until we are ready to run the app. Okay, and we will see how it goes. Just we are still trying to find a better way how to communicate with AI agent. Alright, we have our new endpoint, we have our new user controller, and this is API users and slash register for creating a new user. And well, the response is not clear, which I don't like. The request object is also just a plain object, and it should be something like user DTO. And what I'm not happy with, that, well, I'm changing my mind because we have slash register, but that's not RESTful API style. And in task controller, we are trying to keep the API, the proper RESTful API schema. And here we are breaking this already. So let's try and fix it. Okay, and then took directly what I wanted. Well, what I meant was that the /users should be there, no register at all, and it changed the whole path here. Like we have API. Okay, let's make another comment. Alright, it seems now we have everything correct. We have API v1/users, and for creating users we do have the create user method, which was renamed from register, by the way. And everything looks okay, right? What I don't like, this object, and we are returning unknown entity. And instead this should be something like user DTO. Let's make this change. Let's be more precise and show exactly what we are talking about. Alright, we have our user. Okay, the method was modified. We are returning user DTO the way I wanted to see. And user DTO class, it's in DTO package, where all our other DTOs are stored, and it has ID, username, email, and password. And this is class, no arc. Well, for some reasons we have these two annotations. We have builder from Lombok. That's interesting, but let's keep it like that for the time being. And let's try to, now what we have to do, I think we have to create a mapper which will be responsible to convert between user DTO and user, the domain model object. And here I think we are nearing the testing phase, and here we can convert our user DTO to user and then back to user DTO, pretending the user was created, and just return this DTO back from the method call. And then we can run the application and see how it behaves. Like, it will not create any users, of course, but at least we will see that the endpoint is here. I can predict some restrictions which we will have to fix, but we will take a look later about that. And in general, that app is building. So let me give it a comment for creating the mapper. Okay, it says that it updated create user method, and alright, it's performing all the mapping inside. That's nice, but that's not what I wanted, right? I wanted specific mapper to be created, and some of you can tell me that I have to be more precise here. Like, well, that's true, I didn't give the exact command like create a mapper for me, just on the mapping. But again, this is the AI agent, and it should store the information. It has memory, and we are still expecting that, okay, that it analyzes the code first. For example, like it gave a try to create a new user here, and it found that the user already exists, and it analyzed the code and reused the user. So my expectation would be the same, like that it checked the code base first and found that, okay, the mappers are here already, and this is the exactly specific way how mappers are implemented in this project, and just keeps this strategy for creating a new mapper for me, but it didn't happen, as you see. So let's put it into the right direction, the AI agent, I mean. And let's point to something, and where do we have mappers? I think here, right? We have mappers in DTO. So here we have from, and it's a record. Okay, let's point to this class as an example. Well, it's not following what I told. It created a mapper package for some reasons. That's no. Okay, let me be more precise. Well, maybe my example was not correctly chosen. Well, we don't have mappers so far. It's interesting. How we return tasks? We're just taking tasks, right? All right, then let's describe here maybe. Okay, what about user mappers? Why still we have this class? Let's ask this question. Okay, this one was removed. User detail, what we have here. Now we have from, which takes the domain user, and there's a static method, and we have ID, username, email, and build. And to domain is the set of user role. And well, I would say what I don't like here, well, maybe let me check the controller. So we have a user from to domain, and then there is returning response entity OK, and we are converting from domain user to DTO. What I'm not happy with, we have quite few attributes here. For example, roles is not here at all. When we are returning DTO back to the HTTP caller, we might want to return roles, right? Or maybe some other attributes. So let's give a task about that. And this is cool, right? Like I was saying about roles, but this was the first one what came to my mind, and then the AI agent found exactly the same thing. Just shows how cool and clever I am personally. All right, so let's check again. This one is removed, okay, and DTO we have ID, user, name, email, password, and here we are returning ID, username, email, roles, and password is not here, which is cool. And here, well, we are pretending something which might be wrong, right? If this is null, I would prefer maybe to return. Well, change it the way that roles can't be null in general. Yes, maybe let's modify it the way that users, domain user object cannot return your empty, well, null roles, only empty if it's not defined. So that we don't have to create all these constructions like that. That's a nonsense, right? I asked to modify the record user, so I don't have to do this in the user DTO, and it said me, okay, let's modify user DTO. Exactly the thing I wanted to avoid. So should I tell my opinion on that, or maybe should I write direct instructions what I wanted, because it doesn't get what I want? Let's be more precise then, probably. Okay, now it looks better, I hope. Updated user record, but it's not in the list. How this happened? The change was already applied without me accepting it in the first place. That's very nice. Okay, so this is the drawback. See, something was changed without me noticing it. Like, just imagine multiple things were changed and no one asked you about that. All right, anyway, our controller is ready. It converts the DTO to model and then back to DTO and returns it, and we can give it a try. Okay, we are not creating any users yet, but at least we can check that the functionality, the endpoint is here. Let's accept everything, build the project and run it and check how it works. And it's stuck, it's not accepting. All right. Okay, the hint I know I learned already. If this thing doesn't work, let's just create a new chat, and then it asks you if we stop here. Wait a second. No, it's not waiting for me, right? So just create a new chat, start a new conversation, and then it asks you that if you're continuing creating, then all the pending changes will be confirmed automatically. And then you have the chance to say, okay, please do this. And then you can go back probably and continue changes. So this is the life hack, how it works. All right, we wanted to build a project, and I'm going to use AI agent for that. Why? Because, well, if something goes wrong, then it has immediately a chance to take a look at the logs and fix the code. All right, strangely, everything was buildable just out of the box without any changes, which was not the case usually. And let's start the app. I'm going to start the app by myself, not the Windsurf, because not the AI agent, I mean, because in that case Well, it's not so convenient because you have to keep an eye on that. The port is used for example, when you restart your app, you have to kill the previous application to free the port. And this is not really convenient. So for me, it's easier, what I found working with the system, for me, it's easier just to run it by myself and then tell the AI agent that, okay, the app is running. Okay, and let's do this. Okay, it says that we got a response with no content, and it asks about authentication, and this is the case I would expect, but what I don't understand why. What was the response code in that case? Alright, this thing I expected already, that the new endpoint for creating users should not be authenticated. Otherwise, like, what's the way, right? You cannot create the user because you need to have one already, and you don't have it because you cannot create it. It's kind of circular dependency already, and this thing found it finally. So these are the new changes proposed, and for API we want users, we are permitting everything. Maybe it's not entirely correct because we also have to permit only direct post to users, not like the basic path to all the users' operations. Okay, maybe let's fix that. Alright, this looks better. Let's accept. And well, it's interesting. It tries to verify the get for users, but we don't have this handler. But it says okay. Even if you don't have it, it's still protected. That's the nice feature. But it's clear, right? Because the GET request goes to our server, and it never reaches, probably. I don't know. Probably this is the way Spring works. It never reaches the point where it redirects the request to proper handler. It fails on authentication process already. Anyway, we have our server up and running. We have the new endpoint, which does nothing at the moment, but it's there. And it's time to make changes so we save the real user, that we create the user and save it into the database. But before we continue, let's double check what we have here, and to the main. Okay, I think I found another problem here. Then I will explain you. So when there is a request to create a new user, we are converting it to a domain object with using toDomain method, and that okay, the roles, this is what I don't like, because then you can dictate what roles your new user should have. And this is not the case really, because if you think, like, I can say, well, I would like this user to be admin, and the new admin will be created. And this is the situation we would like to avoid, right? Alright, we have the change, and by default this is a user role, and there's a note about that roles I ignored, and this is a nice feature, like everything is documented properly. Doing something else? Probably not. Alright, then let's accept it and move to real implementation. So I'm formulating it this way. Let's utilize something on service layer. I don't want to give direct order like create a user service. And the reason for that, because I'm not sure which way the AI agent would behave, because we do have already kind of a user service which we are using for authentication, and this is where is it? This is this one, Mongo user detail service. And well, I don't like Mongo in the naming. It should be just user detail service. We'll fix it later. But it's not operating with user. Instead, user details are returned here. And in last session, I asked, does it make sense to inherit domain user from user details? And the AI agent responded that no, that was not a good idea, and so we decided to keep it like that. So I'm really curious, like probably it will create a user service, but then we will ask a question like, well, why do we have two kind of the same user services that have the same responsibilities? But let's check it. Like I'm asking to the AI agent to make the decision on its own, and let's see how it goes. Alright, it decided to create a new user service finally, so it have two kind of duplicates. And here we have we have password encoder user repository. For creating users, the nice thing, we are already checking if user with the same name already exists, and I'm not sure how this one is processed. And email also should not be here as well. And we are also throwing illegal argument exception. But let's keep this question for future. And then what happens? Create new user from user to user. Why do we need to? Well, we have a user and we created another user. This password encoding only. Well, and what else do we have here? Roles and password and name. But still, just imagine we added a new attribute here, and then we have to modify all create new things. Well, let's ask to use with from Lombok. Okay, it was not possible to reuse Lombok because user is a record, but instead a new method was created, which is still better, I think. Let's keep it like that, and then user service. We are using that with password only, which is okay, and everything else looks good. And user controller here. Alright, this is the answer to my question. We are doing this try catch thing, and if we have illegal argument exception, then we are returning bad request as the body of your message. And this is really bad. Like first, what's bad here? We are providing back the message that the exception contains, and in this case it will be that email already exists, and this is really a situation where attack can happen, right? Because you can scan through your database and check all the emails you have in the system, and this is really bad from security perspective. And second, what I don't like, why we're using try catch, we have global handling already in place. Let's fix it step by step maybe. And first, let's start from the simplest, the global exception handling. Okay, what do we have here? Create user in user controllers. Still pretty simple. It has user service and it creates a user from domain which was converted from DTO, and then we converted it back and return in response. Okay. We do have a new section, I think, right? User registration exception. And here, user registration exception, what's that? Well, okay, five files. Okay, it's here. Now I always have fear that something is missing. Something was silently applied without me notifying that. Alright, the user, we have this with password method that's clear in the user service. We throw a new user registration exception and we are still providing confidential information. Alright, now it's better. It got my point, and now we're still checking that user with this email or username given already exists. And if so, then it throws the very generic, it throws user registration exception, but with very generic message like invalid registration details. All right, what else do we have? Service registration exception is the standard one. It's from runtime exception. Okay, let's accept everything. Let me a moment to think about what else can be missing here. All right, everything looks good. Let's accept, build the project, and check how it works. Okay, everything was fine. We still our app up and running, and it's not failing even. So let's give it a try, and we can already create a real user using the new endpoint, and then we can try to use this user to get list of tasks, for example. And if everything is working okay, then we are ready and we can finish with this session. Alright, it says the user was created with a user role, and we can check that in database, by the way, because this is Mongo and we have an interface for that. This is my collection, and let me refresh it. Okay, this is the user that was created, and we'll see the roles is a user, the password is encrypted, and test user 2. So everything looks correct, right? The user was created. Okay, accept. And it was clever now because I was thinking if we have to test the duplication, like we are trying to create a user with the same email or username, and it offered me already that. See that? See? Okay, accept. Okay, 400. We have here and invalid registration details without any real details. So that's great. Maybe the last thing, let's try and test with different password. So we are trying to use the same user, but we are taking the wrong password, and we will see how it behaves. Authentication should fail, right? That's the expectation. And it says, okay, it's a test user 2 that was created. I have no idea why it's 2, by the way, and wrong password as a password. Okay, then everything looks good. Like with the wrong password, we get 401 authorized, and for the correct password, we have 200 and okay.
Okay, that was it for today's session, and well, I would be curious if you also tried already how to work with these tools like AI tools and Windsurf in particular as we use in this session. So if you have your own experience, please don't hesitate. Please share it in the comments below and let's talk about that. And it was me, Evgeny, and I'll see you in next video. Bye bye.